Bossa.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. This is our NFL Draft Prospect Show, along with Vincent Turner and our producer, engineer, Logan Landers. I'm Harper LaBelle. Today, we're going to talk about Quincy Riley, cornerback, Louisville. I think that's how they do it right now. Or they do where their high school is. You know, they'll have an elementary school every now and then. But Quincy is one of those guys at 6 feet, 195 pounds. He's long-armed. Fast, got a lot of things that we're going to talk about, but played at the University of Louisville, and as a Cardinal, he really excelled in so many different areas. But before we get into some of the specifics, Vincent, give us an overall of what you were able to learn about Quincy when you're doing your research on this young man.
Very experienced football player. He's a 6-year player. Played 3 years at Middle Tennessee State down there in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, which is right outside Nashville. But what's amazing and very interesting about him, he's from Columbia, South Carolina. So I'm trying to figure out, how did South Carolina let him get out of Columbia and end up at Middle Tennessee State? He went to A.C. Floyd High School in Columbia. Something must be in the water fountains, because the great Tyrone Colburn came out of that school, and the X-Men, Xavier McDaniel. So he's really playing at a high school that's had some history behind it with some great players. But this is a guy that's a very experienced football player. He's played a lot of football. He went to the right school in Louisville. But I give it back to you, Hawk.
Well, it's an interesting phenomenon because of the COVID. They were getting the last of the years of those guys that they're getting an extra year or two to play. And first of all, we mentioned his height, 6 feet, he's 195. He's projected as a day 2 guy, so he'd probably be a second or third rounder. Look at his stats. 2024, this past season, just a few months ago, 33 tackles, forced fumble, 2 interceptions, and 9 passes deflected. The year prior to that, he had more tackles. He had 49. He had 3 interceptions, 10 passes deflected. So that's what really put him on the map, that 2023 year. In 2022, he had 27 tackles. He had 3 interceptions that year. Wasn't playing quite as much. But here's a guy that comes in. He's very disciplined in the way that he covers. That experience doing it over and over, the consistency that he has. He's physical. He's tough. He's got the speed that you would need to play inside or outside in terms of a cornerback. He got great awareness. One of the things that Logan might be smiling, you can't see him right now, folks, we're going to talk about his fluid hips. Right. I don't know about his ankle flexion because he didn't do that, but they said he's got, fluid hips, meaning he can turn and rotate and do so with a rhythm that doesn't put him out of step. And he's got very quick feet, and he mirrors incredibly well. That's going to be an important factor for him going against NFL receivers. Is if you can mirror somebody and they make a move, that you don't get too much separation. You don't want to have a whole heck of a lot of that. And that's another thing about him, is that he closes incredibly well. He may get out of position for a while, but because of his speed and his burst, he's able to get back into the pattern that the receiver is going to run and interfere with him by being so close.
Very competitive football player. I'm going to go back to not this season, 2023. They playing Notre Dame. That one-handed, that leaping interception he made with one hand against Sam Hartman, that put his name on my radar. But look where he played corner at, as I just mentioned, Louisville. What I just said, competitive. Sam Madison, Miami Dolphins. Jameer Alexander, Green Bay Packers. Dwayne Woodruff, Pittsburgh Steelers, who's now an attorney in the Louisville area. Frank Minifield. Can I say his name again? Frank Minifield. Louisville, played with the Cleveland Browns. And then Ray Big Boom Buchanan, who played with the Atlanta Falcons. Very competitive players that come back every year to Louisville and give their knowledge and history to the guys that's following them, that's coming into the draft. And look how Mr. Riley played. One more time, he's a very competitive football player. And he reminds me of a guy that I saw at the University of Arkansas when I attended, by the name of Danny Walters, who was a running back. They moved in the corner in his junior year. He ended up going to San Diego in the 5th round and started his rookie season. Phenomenal football player. And Quincy Riley is the same build as Danny Walters. This gentleman right here, as you said, Harp, day 2 selection, going to be a guy that I think is going to come in and play a lot early because of his experience in his competitors. Back to you, Mr. Harper LaBelle.
Yeah, his competitive nature is one of the things that really sticks out on film. If there's a 50-50 ball, he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be fighting for it as much as any receiver. And in many respects, he puts himself in position to make it impossible for the receiver to get it. Whether or not he holds or grabs, but he makes contact in a way that he doesn't get a penalty, but that ball is not going to the offensive wide receiver, whether it be a slot guy, tight end, or even a running back. So that's one of the things that he has as a plus. Let's look at a couple of the minuses or the weaknesses that he has. Run defender, he's not the best at doing that. He'll make plays, but he's not a guy that's going to really use the physicality that you would expect from a top rank, maybe a day one prospect. The effort level is there sometimes on run defense and sometimes it's not. At least that's what some people have figured out in terms of his weakness is his inconsistency in tackling. He's got the ability to get there, but it's not always the same result. So that'll be something that he's going to work on, obviously, and training camp will be an excellent spot for him to kind of prove to people that, no, I can mix it up with you. Especially as my junior or senior year, I didn't need to do that quite as much. But once I made my presence known, he'll need to redo that. And he obviously, everybody that gets in the NFL, this isn't really a weakness. It's just like a comment that he needs to add some strength. That'll be something that goes with him. His burst can improve. He's not the fastest guy on the field, but he can run with fast guys. So that'll be one effort level that I think in terms of his training between the end of the season and when the draft comes, and then from the draft, obviously, to when you get into training camp, those will be things that he can work on, just improving his 40 time just a little bit. But his turn speed, his change of direction speed, those are things he'll be doing for the rest of his career.
My final words about Mr. Quincy Riley. When you're looking at the cornerback position, you got to have outstanding balance. That's what I love about this gentleman here. And when you get to the National Football League, when you're playing against all those great receivers, you got to be balanced as a corner. This young man is a football player, and as we just mentioned so many times over the last few minutes, competitive. Look where he played at. Look who he's looking up to. That's been some outstanding football players that played that position at the University of Louisville. We all know Louisville is a basketball school. Denny Crum, too. But let me tell you something. You look at them great corners that came out of this college at the University of Louisville. They've been high-level players at the cornerback position. And this young man, I don't expect nothing less. Back to you, Mr. Harper LaBelle.
Yeah, we wish Quincy Riley all the best. He's right there. He's on the cusp. He could be moved up. It depends. There's some other DBs that might move in front of him in line, but let's hope it's not too much because he deserves a spot. He's a good player, and hopefully he'll have a fantastic NFL career. Again, 6 foot, 195-pounder out of Louisville. Quincy Riley is who we're featuring right now. For Vincent Turner, I'm Harper LaBelle. Our producer and engineer is Logan Landers, and we want to thank you for tuning into our NFL Prospect Show here on 100 Yards of Football. We appreciate you tuning in today, everybody. Have a fantastic rest of your day.